Saving money in 2025? It's tough, but not for the reasons you might think. Sure, we all know the cost of living has gone up, and not having a budget makes it even harder. But the real struggle? It's the way we think about money. Our habits, temptations, and the little choices we make every day without even noticing. Everywhere you look, there's a reason to spend. That limited time deal, the social pressure to keep up, the little splurges that make a bad day feel better. And sometimes buying something new just feels good. But when those small expenses add up, your savings take the hit. The good news, you don't have to stop spending altogether to start saving more. A few simple tweaks can help you keep more money in your pocket without feeling deprived. And that's exactly what we are going to discuss in this video. And we'll break down why saving feels so hard in 2025. We will also go over practical solutions you can start using right now to build your savings despite these challenges. So if you're new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you won't miss out on the valuable insights we share in future videos. Alright, let's get into the first biggest reason people struggle to save. You're not tracking your spending. Peter Drucker, one of the greatest business minds, said it best. What gets measured gets managed. If you don't measure and track where your money is going, how can you possibly manage it? This is where most people go wrong. They jump straight into budgeting, thinking it will magically solve everything. But budgeting without first knowing your actual expenses is like trying to lose weight without knowing how much you eat in a day. You need that awareness first. The solution is simple. Start tracking your spending. Not once, not randomly, make it a habit. The best way to do this is to use a budgeting app that automatically pulls in all your transactions and categorizes them. There are plenty of free apps that do this. And once you start, you'll see exactly where your money is going. Then make it a point to review your spending every week. Just 10 minutes a week can help you notice patterns, spot unnecessary expenses, and figure out where small changes can make a big difference. Maybe you're spending way more than you realized on takeout, or maybe a few subscriptions you never use are quietly draining your account. Once you see the numbers clearly, it becomes much easier to adjust your spending without feeling like you're restricting yourself. If you could only focus on one thing to improve your finances, let it be this. Tracking your spending is the foundation of everything else. Once you know where your money is going, saving stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling like a choice you actually have control over. Now that we've talked about tracking your spending, let's look at another sneaky reason saving feels impossible. Death by 1,000 cuts. Spending isn't just about how much you spend, it's also about how often. Every single time you pull out your card or click Buy Now, you open up an opportunity to overspend. It's not the one big shopping spree that wrecks your budget. It's the constant little purchases throughout the month. An extra $5 here, $20 there, maybe a $40 impulse buy. It doesn't feel like much in the moment, but by the end of the month, it adds up to hundreds of dollars. And then you wonder why you don't have anything left to save. So here's what you need to do. Start counting how often you spend money every day. Seriously, track it. Every time you buy something, make a note. Morning coffee, that's 1. Gas for your car, that's 2. A quick online order, that's 3. Grabbing a snack, that's 4. Bought something for your kids, that's 5. If you find yourself spending money 5 to 10 times a day, that's your problem. It's not the amount, it's the frequency. The fix is simple but powerful. Reduce how often you spend. That doesn't mean you can't buy things. It just means grouping your spending so you're not constantly swiping your card all day. For example, instead of buying small things every time you think of them, make a list and buy them all at once. If you love coffee, try making it at home a few times a week instead of buying it daily. When you spend less often, you create fewer opportunities to overspend, and that's what makes the real difference. Small daily habits control your money more than any budget ever will. We've talked about tracking your spending and how spending too often can drain your savings. But sometimes the problem isn't small purchases, it's big financial decisions that make saving feel impossible. Our next reason is high fixed expenses. Overspending on things like a house or a car can lock you into high fixed expenses that eat up most of your income. And the tricky part is that you might not even realize it's a problem. You might think, we don't spend much, we're pretty frugal. but somehow we still can't save. That's because when your fixed costs, things like rent, mortgage, car payments, insurance, and utilities, are too high, there's very little room for error. Even if you're careful with daily spending, most of your money is already spoken for before the month even begins. The danger of this? One unexpected expense can throw everything off. A medical bill, a car repair, or even a temporary dip in income can quickly lead to debt because there's no financial cushion to absorb it. It's like walking a tightrope with no safety net. There's no flexibility if something goes wrong. Warren Buffett has a great rule for this. If you buy things you don't need, soon you will have to sell things you do need. And that applies to big purchases too. If your house or car takes up too much of your income, saving for emergencies, or even just enjoying life, becomes incredibly hard. So, what can you do? A lot of people think the only solution is selling their house or car, but that's a drastic move. Instead, the first step is to build a financial cushion. Make it your goal to save at least 3 months' worth of expenses in an emergency fund. This way, if something unexpected happens, you won't have to rely on credit cards or loans to cover it. If saving 3 months' worth feels overwhelming, start small. Even setting aside a little bit each month makes a difference. The key is to create breathing room in your budget so you're not constantly living on the edge. Now, if your high fixed costs are still making saving impossible, you may need to reevaluate those big expenses. Refinancing your car loan, negotiating rent, or even downsizing if necessary. The goal isn't to deprive yourself, but to create more financial freedom. We've talked about spending too often, high fixed costs, and tracking your money. But what if I told you that saving too much could actually be one of the reasons you struggle to save? Sounds strange, right? But it happens more often than you'd think. This is what we call being retirement plan poor. As Warren Buffett says, do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. The key here is balance. Saving for the future is important, but if it leaves you struggling now, it's time to adjust. It means you're putting a big chunk of your paycheck into your retirement savings, maybe even maxing out your 401k or similar plans, but at the same time, your take-home pay isn't enough to cover your monthly expenses. So what happens? You end up relying on credit cards or dipping into savings just to get by, which defeats the whole purpose of saving in the first place. The good news? You're preparing well for the future. You're making sure that one day, decades from now, you'll have enough money to retire comfortably. The bad news? Your finances today are a mess. You might have a great retirement fund, but if you're constantly stressed about paying bills or carrying credit card debt, your current financial situation is working against you. So, what can you do? There are 2 ways to fix this problem. The first and fastest solution is to reduce your retirement contributions slightly so you have more take-home pay to manage your daily expenses. This doesn't mean stopping your contributions, just lowering them to a level that keeps you financially stable in the present. The second option is to review your expenses and see if you can lower your spending so your monthly costs don't exceed your income. If you're struggling to save, even though you're contributing a lot to retirement, take a step back and ask yourself, am I setting myself up for a better future while making my present financially unbearable? If the answer is yes, it's time to adjust. Another reason that might be holding you back is you've gotten used to just making it each month. At the end of each month, do you always seem to have the same amount left in your bank account, no matter what? Maybe it's a few $100s, maybe even less. No matter how much you earn, you always end up at that same number. It's not a coincidence, it's a pattern. We can call this financial thermostat. Just like the thermostat in your home keeps the temperature at a set level, your mind does the same thing with money. If your account balance gets too high, you start spending more, maybe treating yourself because you feel like you have extra. But the moment your balance drops too low, you panic, cut back on spending, and become extra careful until you make it through the month. And then the cycle repeats. The problem? You've gotten used to just barely making it. You're comfortable with scraping by at the end of the month, even when you don't have to be. The good news is, you can change this. The key is to raise your financial thermostat. Start by setting a new minimum acceptable balance for yourself. Maybe right now, you're used to ending the month with $100 or less in your account. Raise that to $500. Then, once that feels normal, raise it again to $1,000, then 1 month's expenses, then 3 months' expenses. In short, if you want to break the cycle of barely making it, you have to change what normal looks like for you. And that starts with raising your financial thermostat. So far, we've talked about all the practical reasons saving money feels hard. But what if the real problem isn't about numbers at all? What if the reason you struggle to save is that you're not excited about it? No motivation to save. If your savings plan doesn't make you feel something, you won't stick to it. Make it real. Make it personal. Make it something you actually want. It's really easy to justify spending in the moment when you don't have a clear, motivating reason to save. What's the harm in grabbing that extra drink? You can afford another $100 a month for a nicer car, so why not? What difference does it make? The problem isn't spending itself. It's that you don't feel like you're giving up anything important when you do. That's because most people set boring financial goals. They tell themselves they need to save for retirement or put money away for their kids' college. But that doesn't exactly get your heart racing. It feels like a distant responsibility, not something exciting that changes your life in the short term. Instead of setting generic goals like saving for retirement, you need real, exciting goals that actually motivate you. So how do you fix this? First, get clear about your goals. So clear that your heart beats faster when you think about them. If saving has been a struggle, this is what will finally motivate you to take action. So now you know why saving money in 2025 feels so hard, and more importantly, how to fix it. If this video helped you, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you won't miss more insights like these in the future. Now, go take control of your money. Your future self will thank you.